Evolution of the Keanu Reeves movie. Keanu Charles Reeves is a Canadian actor, director, producer and musician. Born the 2nd of September, so he's a Virgo like me, 1964, so he's 56 years young, from Beirut, Lebanon. Firstly, Keanu Reeves is such a laid-back, down-to-earth dude. He's a badass who loves his motorbike. You can find so many stories of his goodwill all over the internet, and of his kindness too. It just follows him wherever he goes, really. But you'll know the man as Neo. Jack Traven from Speed.
With a plan, because I'm smarter than you. I'm smarter than you. Yeah? Well, I'm taller.
Johnny Utah from Point Break. And Ted, lovable Ted from Bill and Ted.
Iron Maiden? Excellent!
So Mr. Keanu Reeves began his career in 1984 as a teen client, and he pretty much looks the same. No wonder they call him immortal. So he played a teen in Hanging In TV show, a Canadian telly show. A year later, he was a thug, then a mugger in Night Heat, the drama series. He had a bit of a jock feel to him, next playing another teen in Letting Go, 1985. But he had this scene with the stereo rocking out with his buddy. It totally reminded me of an early Ted, Theodore Logan, about him in this TV movie. The late John Ritter led this one with Sharon Gless. Jack Bender actually directed. Now he's has a lot of film cred because he produced Lost. He directed Child's Play 3.
This means war.
And Game of Thrones. He dipped into comedy with Comedy Factory before he got a full name. Ron Petrie, a troubled teen whose life is hanging by a thread as he's on the verge of suspension from school, subject to arrest for breaking and entering, doing a B&E, and the cause of his single mother's impending eviction from their apartment. Unless he can find a resolution, his only option seems to be life of street crime. So he's already playing this established teen terror, and it's been set in his ways since the 80s, really. This is Keanu Reeves' film debut, One Step Away. So it's pretty big when we're talking about Keanu Reeves. He was in a successful movie straight after, and he got to meet two famous people, Rob Lowe and Patrick Swayze. I'm going to say it again in case you missed it. Rob Lowe and Patrick Swayze playing Heaver. Now, he must have loved this role as a Canadian because it's centred around ice hockey. So he must have Love this one. A skilled young hockey prospect hoping to attract the attention of professional scouts is pressured to show that he can fight if challenged during his stay in a Canadian minor hockey town. His on-ice activities are complicated by his relationship with the coach's daughter. Is that your daughter? Keanu Reeves had hockey experience upon being cast, having been MVP and nicknamed The Wall for his goaltending capabilities at De La Salle's college team in Toronto, Ontario. He wore a mask with a scar design based on a similar mask worn by Boston Bruins goalie Jerry Cheevers. Then, he was Buddy Martin in Act of Vengeance. Charles Bronson.
My name's Charles Bronson, and all my life I've wanted to be famous.
No, not that Charles Bronson you might be thinking of. Actor Charles Bronson with Keanu Reeves. And some say this was the first evil part Keanu played. From playing the villain, he then went into Disney. That's a big step. Already, he's at Disney already. And he's only 22, playing a 17-year-old as Michael Riley in Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Colour. It's like the movie 17 again, with Matthew Perry and Zac Efron, but it's called Young Again. Basic principles from the film. Robert Urich was the older version of Keanu. And he did 8 projects this year as well. That's pretty impressive. 8 projects in 1986. And this is only 4th place. Flying. He was new boyfriend Tommy Warnocki. And it's a gymnastics movie. He's romantic and there's some lovey-dovey scenes in this. Never ever change. I laughed and I cried. Reeves bumped heads with Kiefer Sutherland and Billy Zane in The Brotherhood of Justice. He was Rich Boy Derek. A group of high school students led by Derek is sick of school violence and decides to become underground vigilantes named Brotherhood of Justice. It starts with the idea of watching people, but things quickly get out of control. Brotherhood of Justice turns out to be another gang of violence. Always the way. Big step from gymnastics to gang violence, eh? Yeah, that's a bit of a step. River's Edge, 1986. Brother Matt. It's a crime drama, and it's kind of based on a true story as well. Crispin Glover, Dennis Hopper with Keanu Reeves. I will hear them two names put together again, Dennis Hopper and Reeves, a bit later on. Under the Influence TV movie. He was Eddie Talbot.
Dad, it's Eddie.
Eddie Talbot. Aye.
Dad. Come on, I know you're in here.
Babes in Toyland, 1986. Now this is a weird one. It is a really weird one. Drew Barrymore played Lisa Piper. Keanu was Jack B. Nimble. And it's got the Karate Kid's Pat Marotta also in Babes in Toyland. Yeah, it is a proper strange one, that one. 2 years later, 1988, he was Winston Connolly. Winston Connolly wakes up in the middle of the night in an alley with no idea how he got there, nor does he know where in LA he is, or why he's wearing a beat-up tuxedo. Through a series of flashbacks, he remembers that he was sidetracked on his way to the prom the night before. In the meantime, he has to figure out what happened to his wallet, his car keys, his date, and why a pimp named Tito wants him dead. A pimp named Tito the night before. He does look like a Ken doll in this, which is really strange to see. Honey, I Blew Up the Kid writer, Tom Eberhardt. Did the night before.
The man is done.
Permanent Record, 1988. Best friend, Chris Townsend. A quirky outsider. Now, Keanu is brilliant at playing this role of this quirky outsider. He let his hair get long, and it looks good. Louis Reed made an appearance in this too.
How's that?
And you gotta love the read.
Hey, why don't you come in and listen to this?
How you doing?
Next round, barman. The Prince of Pennsylvania as Rupert Marchetta. His character, well, a loudmouth punk rocker with a taste for the intellectual, is bored stiff and on the verge of failing out of his senior year of high school. But when Marchetta meets drive-in theatre operator Carla, he finds a mentor who has much to teach him, and an unlikely friendship results. Soon, the two decide to leave their small town. To raise money, Rupert and Carla resolve to abduct Rupert's father and hold him for ransom. We've all been there.
Ling ling. Ling ling. Ling ling. Ling ling. Oh. Ling ling. Dad, don't do that.
Philadelphia writer Ron Niswana.
Good night, my angel. My sweet boy.
Saw my reflection in a window and didn't know my own face. Oh brother, you're gonna leave me wasting away on the streets of Philadelphia.
Did this one? Dangerous Liaisons was next. Reeves played someone called Chevalier, a charming Chevalier, Raphael Dancini. That is a hard name to say. Who becomes Cecile's music teacher. Movie based on a play with a big fantastic cast. John Malkovich, Glenn Close, Uma Thurman, Michelle Pfeiffer, even Peter Capaldi in this one, who would later play the Doctor. But Dangerous Liaisons was overshadowed completely by Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, 1989.
Put them in the Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden? Excellent! Execute them. Bogus.
Two seemingly dumb teens set off on a quest to prepare the ultimate historical presentation with the help of a time machine. Now, we all wish we had a time machine when we were doing our history exams, but they actually get it. Teens with a time machine? Yes, please, sign me up. For years, Keanu Reeves lamented that his epitaph would be, "Here lies Keanu Reeves, he played Ted." Bill and Ted began as a stand-up act, in which the characters would discuss current events without knowing what they're talking about. Originally, there was a third character named Bob.
You know, so how can I help you, Bob?
But the comedian who played him lost interest after a few performances, and I bet you he is kicking himself now. He's still kicking himself now, I tell you. I need to find out this mysterious Bob guy.
You're saying Bob.
I've tried Googling him, and I've tried trying to research who he was, where he was, but yeah, there's nothing on him. He's like a ghost. It's crazy. This is a wacky one. Originally, Alex Winter auditioned for the role of Ted, and Keanu Reeves auditioned for the role of Bill. That's a weird, trippy one, that, isn't it? Can you imagine their roles being reversed? That is really, really strange. Stephen Herrick directed. He's known for Critters. And The Three Musketeers.
All for one, more for me.
He did Bill and Ted, Stephen Herrick. Let's not chat. Let's waste some time chatting. Let's play some great scenes.
So, Trace, the only true wisdom consists in knowing that you know nothing.
That's us, dude.
Oh, yeah. Let's bag him.
Yeah.
Reeves was Ted. Alex Winter, who made a name for himself through MTV, played Bill. And we got the legend George Carlin as Rufus. Need I say more? George Carlin. Well, yeah, they're making a third film but we'll be talking about that a bit later on. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures TV series came out in 1990.
We must go back to 1969 and get a full-on understanding of these non-triumphant feelings toward the good Lord in man.
Matheson and Solomon also created the second movie 1 year later, which had the best soundtrack in it. A tyrant from the future creates evil android doubles of Bill and Ted and sends them back to eliminate the originals. Yep. And I was always told, from a sci-fi time travel perspective, you can't meet yourself because if bad things happen. And they said, after that, we'll do it. Good for them. But you know, they are evil androids. So this soundtrack that I built up before: Faith No More, Megadeth, and Kiss. During filming the second movie, Keanu Reeves collapsed in his trailer and was hospitalised with an arm infection. To cheer us up a bit, here's more scenes.
Excuse us, but your shoes are untied.
In between the first and second film and the telly show of Bill and Ted, Keanu did American Playhouse TV series. He was Kip. Steve Martin led movie Parenthood. He was Todd, the boyfriend Todd.
Miss Buckman, you need a license to buy a dog or drive a car. Hell, you need a license to catch a fish. But they'll let any butt-reaming asshole be a father.
He popped up in the TRACEY Ullman TV show. Then, I Love You to Death, 1990. Reeves played incompetent, perpetually stoned hitman Marlon James. And he was actually with TRACEY Ullman again, straight from the show. Heather Graham, Kevin Kline, Miriam Margolyes, to the one, the only, the legendary River Jude Phoenix, who played Devo. And there was a definite bromance in the air between Reeves and Phoenix. And if you have enjoyed this video so far, you could check out the one I made about River Phoenix. It's like this one, but about River Phoenix. If you can't find it, you can hit me a message on Facebook, and I'll happily send you it as well. So, the plot of I Love You to Death. Joey owns a pizza parlour and is married to Rosalie. He's also a serial womanizer. Rosalie goes to extremes when she finds he has been cheating. Oh, it reminds me of that telly show, Cheaters. The Big Chill and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Writer Lawrence Kasdan. Keanu grew out his beard for this and looked pretty good as a stoner. River Looked Awesome 2 is a pic of him being a hippie. Tune in tomorrow, a comedy as Martin. Martin works at the local radio station, which just hired a new scriptwriter with a reputation for great drama. Pedro. See, I drive the coach. Martin's aunt, Julia, not related by blood. Yeah, I must reiterate that. Not related by blood, returns home after many years away, and Martin falls for her. Once Pedro finds out about this romance, he starts incorporating details of it into the script of his daily drama series. Soon, Martin and Julia are not only hearing about their fictional selves over the radio, but about what they are going to do next. Ooh! Madness. And that is a plot, that, isn't it? That is a plot. Badass Peter Falk from The Twilight Zone and Columbo.
One more thing.
He was in this one with Barbara Hershey also. But the main movie between the two Bill and Ted movies is Point Break. Point Break. Rookie FBI agent Johnny Utah, who goes undercover to infiltrate the surfing community and develops a complex friendship with Bowdy, Swayze, the charismatic leader of a gang of surfers. I know what you're thinking, and don't think that. I know what you're thinking, but give it a chance. There's so much to this movie, so many thrills and bends and along the way. It is just full of testosterone. Zero Dark 30 and the Hurt Locker director, Catherine Bigelow. So you know you're in good hands. She did Point Break. With Gary Busey, John C. McGinley and Swayze. The facts around this movie are really interesting. All the facts about Swayze as well and what he did in the film. But we're talking about Keanu Reeves. Johnny Utah becomes an FBI agent after a knee injury ended his football career. In real life, Keanu Reeves was once an aspiring hockey player who suffered a knee injury and went on to become an actor. 2 months before filming, Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze and Laurie Petty trained with former world-class professional surfer Dennis Jarvis in Hawaii. Like I said, it's got it all. Adrenaline, action, romance, thrills. You have to see it. And all of the music as well, you'll hear me say that a lot for this one. Jimi Hendrix, L.A. Guns. He bumped heads again with the late River Phoenix, My Own Private Idaho. The story follows two friends, Mike and Scott, as they embark on a journey of personal discovery that takes them from Portland to Mike's hometown in Idaho, and then to Rome in search of Mike's mother. Director Gus Van Sant, known for Milk and Psycho. 2000, I must say that, not the 1960s film. Many members of the cast, including River Phoenix, Keanu Reeves, Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Michael Parker, moved into director Gus Van Sant's large old house in Portland, Oregon during filming. They apparently caused such a disturbance, staying up late, getting drunk, partying and playing music loud. They overtook the house to such an extent that Van Sant eventually had to move out of his own house and stay with a friend in order to get some sleep. Oh, could you imagine being Gus Van Sant? I love sleep. Oh, God. Because River Phoenix agent refused to show him the film treatments for My Own Private Idaho. Now, this is really sweet, okay? Because River Phoenix agent refused to show him the film treatments for My Own Private Idaho. Don't know why. In late 1990, Keanu Reeves rode his motorcycle from Canada to Phoenix's hometown of Gainesville, Florida, to hand-deliver it himself. What a man. What a man. Should we find out how long it takes to get from Canada to Gainesville, Florida? Should we find out? So he travelled 2,171 miles roughly from Canada to Gainesville. That is some friendship, that isn't it? That is some friendship. What a man. And you can see the chemistry between the two lead actors. It's quite sweet, really. And it's even more sweet knowing that what happened to River Phoenix. There's almost like an energy between them two. Next was Providence, 1991, Before. Bram Stoker's Dracula, 1992. American Gothic horror film. Newly qualified solicitor Jonathan Harker, who is the main protagonist of Bram Stoker's 1897 Gothic horror novel, Dracula. Dracula. Four bats. How
many want to eat bug burgers? 1, 2, 3. 3 votes for bug burgers.
So many fantastic names in this. Director Francis Ford Coppola, who I always call Francis Ford Copperfield. who is notoriously known for Godfather.
You don't offer friendship. You don't even think to call me Godfather. Instead, you come into my house on the day my daughter's to be married and you ask me to do murder. Money.
Apocalypse Now.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Mina!
One of the best incarnations of Dracula, Gary Oldman, who is actually terrifying in this.
You can't destroy me. You're mine.
Sacred blood of Christ!
I who serve the cross. I who commanded this.
With the likes of Winona Ryder, Anthony Hopkins joining the Wall himself. Gary Oldman was drunk the night they filmed the scene where he had to lick blood from Keanu Reeves' straight razor. The scene was filmed after midnight, which added to the spirit of the scene and helped put the cast in the proper mood. Apparently, they filmed the entire ceremony with a genuine Orthodox minister and realised afterwards that Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves were really married. But they didn't sign up for that on the contract, did they?
Light! All right!
Keanu went from Bram Stoker to William Shakespeare with Much Ado About Nothing, playing the famous Don John. He's angry, spiteful and jealous. His wealth allows him to compensate for shortcomings, such as courage and wisdom.
I would bite. If I had my liberty, I would do my liking. In the meantime, let me be that I am.
You would definitely not recognise him in Freaked, playing Otis the dog boy. There's no resemblance at all of Keanu Reeves under all that makeup, is there? He rejoined Uma Thurman and Gus Van Sant for Even Cowgirls Get the Blues as Julian. Siddhartha in Little Buddha. Next. Speed, 1994.
Speed, give me what I need. Yeah, what lightning. Let's speed on speed, wheels on wheels. Speed.
Speed, 1994. As the badass Jack Traven, LAPD SWAT officer. A young police officer must prevent a bomb exploding aboard a city bus by keeping its speed above 50 miles per hour. Right, I'm off to watch that again, so I'll be right back. Right, I'm back. I went and watched it. I'm back. This movie is an action-packed, intense, and it's scary. It's got attitude. It's got amazing scenes like these.
Hey, I'll drop the stick, boy. You want that?
Jan de Bont directed Speed. Now, he did my favourite Helen Hunt movie and all. You know my favourite Helen Hunt movie and all? Twister. And he produced Minority Report. Keanu Reeves breaking the glass on the bus door in the beginning of the movie was an accident. However, it was left in the final cut of the film. Jan de Bont insisted that Keanu Reeves get a sensible haircut, as would befit a hard-working cop. 20th Century Fox were horrified when they saw the buzz cut that adopted for the film, threatening to postpone the film to allow his hair to grow back. The hair's a big thing in Hollywood, isn't it? We also got Dennis Hopper as the villain. He makes a cracking villain, Dennis Hopper. Jeff Daniels, who doesn't love Jeff Daniels? With now shamed actress Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock. The plot, the story, the energy. They did make a second one without Keanu. I know. For shame. 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 He got his first lead role with Johnny Mnemonic. A data courier literally carrying a data package inside his head must deliver it before he dies from the burden or is killed by the Yakuza. His name's Johnny.
Johnny, la gente está muy loca.
Because his name's Johnny. Now, this film is like a fusion between two great Reeves movies. 1, Matrix, and 2, John Wick. So do check it out. The script was rumoured to have been dumped on the doorstep of Keanu Reeves' house, a tactic that piqued his interest and led him to accepting the role of Johnny. Johnny's brain implant is detected by a security scanner and is falsely reported as a device for counteracting dyslexia. Keanu Reeves does in fact suffer from the disorder in real life. Now, I never knew that. Tales from the Crypt director Robert Longo. Dolph Lundgren played the street preacher. Ice-T, Henry Rollins to Udo Kier. We even have Takeshi Kitano from Takeshi's Castle in it too.
He's got spirits. Will he be wearing them on his teeth?
He then played a soldier, Paul Sutton, who was on his way home after World War II. In A Walk in the Clouds. 1996, Chain Reaction. 3, 2, 1. Morgan Freeman. I'm Morgan Freeman. And Keanu Reeves together? Yes, yes, and yes again. Keanu was Eddie, a student machinist, working with a team from the University of Chicago. Chicago! 2 researchers in a green alternative energy project are put on the run when they are framed for murder and treason. Prior to the start of filming, Keanu Reeves had injured himself playing a pickup game of hockey in his native Canada. He injured his neck and back areas, causing him to gain weight, which explains his look in the film. The motorcycle in the movie is a 1976 Kawasaki KZ-1000, requested by Keanu Reeves himself. You know, he loves his motorbikes. Director Andrew Davis, known for these wonderful films. Keanu was Jax in Feeling, Minnesota. An ex-convict and his bumbling crook brother fight for the same woman. And that woman is none other than Cameron Diaz. He was Harry in The Last Time I Committed Suicide.
Of course, but what does that have to do with all the fenced in happily ever after? Look, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I know you, Cassidy. Couldn't live that. That'd be death for you.
But that last one was overtaken by The Devil's Advocate, 1997. An exceptionally adept Florida lawyer is offered a job to work in New York City for a high-end law firm with a high-end boss, the biggest opportunity of his career to date. Keanu Reeves led movie as Kevin Lomax, a defense attorney from Gainesville, Florida, who has never lost a case. With Big Al Pacino. Hoo-wah! What a big man you are! Hoo-wah! And Charlize Theron. Al Pacino played John Milton, aka Satan himself, who takes the guise of a human lawyer named after the author of Paradise Lost, John Milton. And there are loads and loads of great quotes from Pacino. Honestly, there's so many. Do check them out when you have the time. My favourite is love. Love? Overrated. Biochemically, no different than eating large quantities of chocolate. Oh, I want that on a t-shirt. I want that on a t-shirt. An officer and a gentleman director, Taylor Hackford, did this one. And a lot of people, and me, also remember the lesbian scene in the lift. I'm just a man, so it's just one of those scenes that just stick in your head, isn't it? 2 years after Devil's Advocate, something extraordinary hit our screens. The Matrix, 1999. Neo. Now, I could write an essay on the allusions to religious scripture. Actually, my brother has done decades ago. Or I could talk about the themes of choices, philosophy, rules, order, reality, alternative reality, fate, and free will. That's just the tip of the iceberg to this multi-layered, fascinating, multifaceted film that will change you physically after viewing. It's one of those films that just changes you.
Agent punched through a concrete wall. Men have emptied entire clips at them and hit nothing but air. Everyone who has fought an agent has died. But where they have failed, you will succeed.
Neo, born Thomas A. Anderson, Mr. Anderson, the protagonist of the Matrix franchise, was a typical blue pill until he was rescued by Morpheus. Prophesied by the Oracle to be the one, he is set out on a course to free humanity from the Matrix and end the machine war. A computer hacker learns from mysterious rebels about the true nature of his reality and his role in the war against its controllers. Wachowski brothers, now the Wachowski sisters, directed. The music. The good music and Keanu Reeves go together so well. This is why we mention a lot of the music in his films. Rob Zombie, Massive Attack, The Prodigy, Rage Against the Machine, Marilyn Manson, to Club to Death. For the cell phone conversation scene between Neo and Morpheus in their Metacortex office, Keanu Reeves actually climbed up the window without a stuntman, which was 34 floors up. And let's just watch some more spellbinding scenes. The last thing about The Matrix is it invented the term bullet time, which has been parodied multiple times since its birth. But bullet time in itself is just so interesting. We also have the hero's journey and the monomyth. Like I mentioned earlier with the tip of the iceberg, that's just it. You could make a whole video about The Matrix as long as this one. Me and Will, 1999. Thelma and Louise meets Easy Rider. Incredible description of this film, Me and Will, 1999. He was himself the bassist in Dogstar, the alternative rock band from the 1990s. The millennium happened. Keanu Reeves then went into American pro football, the replacements, as Shane Falco, a former All-American from Ohio State whose career went to pieces after a horrendous Sugar Bowl game. He's one hell of a modern American. The playoffs are fast approaching. Washington Sentinels have just gone on strike. Scrambling for a solution, the Sentinels owner hatches a plan to bring in legendary coach Jimmy McKinty to recruit a team of replacement players in exactly 1 week. But for Shane Falco and a mismatched crew of outsiders, it is the second chance they've waited their whole lives for. We got badass Jon Favreau, actor, director himself, Jon Favreau, with Gene Hackman, Orlando Jones and Rhys Ifans. We're with Mr. Reeves. During filming, Keanu Reeves was offered a tryout with the Baltimore Ravens. Can you imagine that, doing a sports film and then you're so good at the sport, they offer you a tryout? Keanu Reeves gained 23 pounds for his role as a quarterback, Shane Falco. Pretty in Pink and My Best Friend's Girl director Howard Deutsch made this one. As any sports movie, you know you have to have a great soundtrack. You have to. And that's what this film has. From the Rolling Stones, Mark Wahlberg singing Good Vibrations, Bachman Turner Overdrive, Gloria Gaynor, Donna Summer, The Police, Queen. Take a bow. Keanu then went dark, very dark. A serial killer, David Alan Griffin, in The Watcher. Continuing his dark characters, the violent husband in The Gift.
My wife was standing right there. How do I know you're not lying now? No, goddammit! Oh. It's her, goddammit! She's the reason I'm up here. She's a goddamn witch.
Evil Dead and Spider-Man director Sam Raimi, badass Billy Bob Thornton, wrote The Gift from personal experiences. Keanu Reeves and his on-screen wife Hilary Swank visited the local spousal abuse counsellors to understand why men were abusive to their wives and why wives stayed with their husbands. And there's a great TED Talks video about this problem as well, and she explains it beautifully, and I think you'll enjoy it. Reeves flipped the script, going into a romantic movie.
The passing years will show you've kept my love so young.
Sweet November. A workaholic executive and an unconventional woman agree to a personal relationship for a short period. In this short period, she changes his life. No.
Because you smell like puppy pee.
Where are my clothes?
No more soup. Woo!
He dipped into sports for the third time. Hardball, 2001.
You want to play hardball? I'm game.
You want to play hardball? I'm game.
So we've had hockey, then American football, now Little League Baseball.
Listen, we're tied 2-2. We just need to get one guy out.
Coach, I can't pitch. These guys are really going to sweat me. They're going to yell, then I can't think. This guy's one of the best hitters in the league.
Miles, you're in charge out here, okay? Don't rush.
An aimless young man who is gambling and drinking agrees to coach a Little League team based on a true story. And it's nice seeing the dynamic between the races in this one. I think it's lovely.
He made me a better person. Even if just for that moment.
We got more intensity, more action, more awesomeness in Matrix Reloaded.
Upgrades.
And we have to mention the game as well, Enter the Matrix. And you haven't seen the last of them fights. There is one massive one coming in Revelations. It did pick up some hate, some negative reviews, because of how different it is from the first one. Matrix Revelations was straight after, and all I gotta say is that fight scene in the rain. He went from playing Neo in the final trilogy to Julian. Another Julian. Yep. the Doctor, Julian Mercer, in Something's Gotta Give, 2003. Nancy Meyers movie. Diane Keaton and Jack Nicholson getting jiggy with it in this one.
Getting jiggy with it. Getting jiggy with it.
2 years later, 2005, the return of Dogstar, the band. Keanu was another doctor, orthodontist, Dr. Perry Lyman, in Thumbsucker, before another hard hitter came in the form of Constantine. Supernatural detective John Constantine helps a policewoman prove her sister's death was not a suicide, but something more.
Still keeping your all-seeing eye on me. I'm flattered.
Adapted from the horror comic book Hellblazer. The only links to the character of John Constantine were the name and the plotline loosely based on the Dangerous Habits story arc. Hunger Games.
I volunteer as tribute.
And I Am Legend.
Please say hello to me.
Director Francis Lawrence made Constantine. Keanu Reeves bought the Holy Shotgun prop and gave it to director Francis Lawrence as a gift. Now I want that Holy Shotgun. In the comic book Hellblazer, on which the movie is based, the character of John Constantine is from Liverpool, England. Yes! And he's drawn to look like the singer Sting.
Whoa, I'm an alien. I'm a legal alien. I'm an Englishman in New York. Whoa, I'm an alien. I'm a legal alien. I'm an Englishman in New York.
John Constantine, a chain-smoking cynic with the ability to perceive the true visage of half angels and half demons on the human plane. John is damned to hell for attempting suicide, a mortal sin, and has terminal lung cancer. He got into animation for the first time, and I think more films should be made like this. It's got this comic book movie vibe, and coming straight from Constantine, it's kind of fitting really. This one is A Scanner Darkly, quite a popular one on the cards. 2006 it was released. An undercover cop in a not too distant future becomes involved with a dangerous new drug and begins to lose his own identity as a result. The cast: Keanu joined forces with the fantastic Robert Downey Jr., Winona Ryder again, Woody Harrelson, director Richard Linklater, you should definitely know from School of Rock and Dazed and Confused, Philip K. Dick book. Now he's a big name in literature. He's also known for Blade Runner, Total Recall and Minority Report. Philip K. Dick. He rejoined Sandra Bullock from Speed in The Lake House 2006. So he went into a rom-com. Really interesting plot. It's hard to understand sometimes. A lonely doctor who once occupied an unusual lakeside house begins exchanging love letters with its former resident, a frustrated architect. They must try to unravel the mystery behind their extraordinary romance before it's too late. Hollywood remake of the acclaimed South Korean film. People have called this movie confusing, sweet, and compared it to the likes of The Sixth Sense and Three Wishes. It's a chick flick with a good heart, with a sweet ending. I think you'll enjoy. This is Keanu Reeves' third film involving time travel. I love time travel. And the goosebumps you get from watching The Lake House is pretty major. Yeah, the goosebumps. Another 2 years passed away and we got to 2008. Street Kings. Oh yeah, Street Kings. As Detective Tom Ludlow. An undercover cop again. He loves these undercover cops. Disillusioned by the recent murder of his wife. Weirdly enough, this movie has a little tiny taste of John Wick about it. But you're going to have to wait a wee bit longer for that one. People remember the hip-hop soundtrack, the Omega cast. Just take a look. Omega. Detective Tom Ludlow, Keanu, wakes up at the beginning to the same alarm sound as The Matrix, 1999. So there's a connection between Tom and Neo with the alarm. Next, they remade a classic.
We have come to visit you in peace and with goodwill.
Classic The Day the Earth Stood Still, 1951. Almost 60 years later, a science fiction film about an alien visitor and his giant robot counterpart who visit Earth. The Day the Earth Stood Still, 2008. Reeves was a humanoid alien. Clahu. We love a good doomsday sci-fi flick here, and it has this Twilight Zone feel to it, almost like another one of Keanu Reeves we've had previous that had this little taste of Twilight Zone, and this one definitely does to it as well. Doctor Strange, writer.
Teach me.
Sinister, writer Scott Derrickson made this remake.
Fred?
2009,
Pippa Lee,
The
right?
Private Lives of Pippa Lee.
Very happy underneath all that anxiety.
Henry's Crime, 2010.
I gotta call you back. I just ran someone over.
Generation M, 2012.
Aren't guys weird?
So, if you cannot guess already, but Keanu Reeves did take a little break from acting, which I think he deserved it, really. Before, there's a big one, Man of Tai Chi, 2013. It was a Chinese-American martial arts film directed by the main man himself, Keanu Reeves, on his directorial debut. A young martial artist's unparalleled Tai Chi skills land him in a highly lucrative underworld fight club. It starred MMA fighters, famous Chinese actors and martial artists, the likes of Tiger Hu Chen. Now, Reeves did hop from China to Japan for 47 Ronin, a real-life group of masterless samurai in 18th century Japan who avenged the death of their lord. It's a period fantasy action film. The cinematography, the fantasy element, the visuals are stunning, hugely underrated, considering the director had only done a handful of short films under his belt before this one. It is really, really good. It was released on Boxing Day in the UK. Always a bad idea to release a film in Boxing Day. You know, people are going to be fat and full and not want to leave the house. According to Keanu Reeves, filming was first done in Japanese for the sake of the supporting cast, and then filming was done in English. Reeves played Kai, a half Japanese, half English outcast. A band of samurai set out to avenge the death and dishonour of their master at the hands of a ruthless shogun.
Wait here.
John Wick, 2014. John Wick. I'm going to say it again, John Wick.
Where's yours?
What can I say about this gem? Firstly, when a gangster's son steals his car and kills his dog, ex-hitman John Wick takes on the entire mob to get his revenge. What a plot. When we say entire mob, we mean entire mob. Secondly, his suit, his slick back hair, his beard, tattoos, his whole look is fantastic. Action, the action, the relentlessness. James Bond with a heart of gold he is. James Bond with a heart of gold. Thirdly, the wonderful score by Tyler Bates and Joel J. Richard. There was a comment on YouTube which I thought explained a lot about John Wick. John Wick was boss every minute. I thought that pretty much summed up it. According to Keanu Reeves, he did 90% of his own stunts in the film. 90% of his own stunts. Jesus. There's loads of this about him training the art of gun fu. Keanu Reeves learned and memorised a nightclub fight sequence the day the scene was filmed. This nightclub fight sequence is beautifully done, but it reminds me of these YouTube videos I used to watch. They were called Madness Combat. I'm going to show you a little clip of it, and maybe you agree with me, they do seem quite similar. John Wick is a badass gun fu flick you gotta see. Gun fu. Gunplay and kung fu mixed together. Check out John Wick Changed Action Movies and You Barely Noticed from Looper, a YouTube channel which is for more awesomeness about the film. Now, before we got that very famous sequel, Keanu went on into erotic thriller Knock Knock. Knock Knock.
Knock Knock.
Knock Knock as the unfaithful Evan the architect.
I thought you guys left.
Who made you rookie?
This movie has a brilliant twist and a spectacular way of flipping gender stereotypes. Director Eli Roth. Eli Roth, I was going to tell you like what he's been in, but you know Eli Roth. You just know him. Now this is a great film. A devoted father helps two stranded young women who knock on his door, but his kind gesture turns into a dangerous seduction and a deadly game of cat and mouse. The ending alone is something a lot of people remember, with Reeves buried from the neck down. I won't spoil it for you, but it has a great use of the song Where Is My Mind by the Pixies.
Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is my mind?
Knock knock. Who's there? Cheating Evan. Cheating Evan who? Cheating eventually gets you killed.
Knock Knock has this hard candy, funny games vibe to it. Definitely check out those movies I've just listed, Hard Candy and Funny Games, if you are a fan of Knock Knock, because they're very similar in construction. He then played another detective. Jesus, how many is that now? Detective Galban, exposed. Ooh, matron. Ooh. Exposed. Before Keanu as Keanu, 2016, action comedy. The man himself was Ramsey. No, not that Ramsey. Defense attorney Richard Ramsey in The Whole Truth. Those neon lights were shining again like in John Wick, this time for The Neon Demon, 2016. Mr. Reeves played the Dream in The Bad Batch. In a desert dystopia, a young woman is kidnapped by cannibals.
Because you know what the dream really is. It's life. Life is the dream.
Quantum is calling. Dr. Beckham. Nope, not David Beckham. Doctor again. Dr. William Beckham in To the Bone. As you know, To the Bone was overshadowed by John Wick Chapter 2, 2017. Best quote is,
Tell them all. Whoever comes, whoever it is, I'll kill them. I'll kill them all.
More action, more violence, more gunfire.
Man, the myth, the legend.
Then popped up in the goofy Swedish Dicks telly show. Two unlicensed Swedish private investigators try to make a living in LA. Only appears for the briefest moment as John Wick-like character. Now, this year, we had it already, this year, 2018, he's already appeared in American diamond merchant Lucas Hill, When a diamond trader's Russian partner goes missing, he journeys to Siberia in search of him, but instead begins a love affair. So it's a crime romance flick, poorly received by the critics, but hey-oh, we don't care about that. It has got our Keanu in it. The last thing he's done so far is Destination Wedding, a comedy film pinning Reevs with Winona Ryder, who's back kicking ass since Stranger Things. So you have them two together and their chemistry is fantastic. The story of two miserable and unpleasant wedding guests, Lindsay and Frank, who do develop a mutual affection. Mad Men producer and Mad About You producer Victor Levin was behind this wedding movie. This is the fourth film featuring Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves, and you can tell because of how great they are together. Well, what to expect from the legend himself? What I can guarantee is John Wick 3, Parabellum, and Bill and Ted Face the Music. Take all that in. Take all that in. A trilogy to John Wick and Bill and Ted. Oh, he was Will Foster, husband and father in sci-fi hit Replicas. A scientist becomes obsessed with bringing back his family members who died in a traffic accident. Now, this film does sound like a plot from Black Mirror, the TV series, which I love. It's been announced that he's playing John Rain in a TV series based on the espionage novels by Barry Eisler. He's going to be in another comedy, Always Be My Baby. Then he's going to be a rally car driver. He's going to be in a drama called The Starling. If you have enjoyed this video, you can listen to the Keanu Reeves radio special I made about the legend through my Mixcloud, mixcloud.com, Richard-Isles, Keanu Reeves special. If you can't find it, you can send me a message through Facebook, facebook.com/Richard-Isles radio show. While you're there, you can hit the like button, and to keep up to date with my latest YouTube videos, radio shows, and past radio shows too, so there's lots going on. And the last thing I wanted to do is thank you so much for watching.